This video is brought to you by Squarespace. What's up everyone, Lance Hedrick here, and today we're taking a look at a brand new machine to the market, the Arkel Coast. This machine is actually made right here in Portugal, literally a 7-minute drive down the road. When I picked up this machine, I literally just drove there to pick it up and bring it back here. Super convenient for me, no shipping cost. That's awesome. This is new to the market, and what they are trying to do is make their way into that dual boiler kind of area. So the capability of steaming and brewing at the same time, and their angle is kind of high quality build, mostly all of it built in Europe with the exception of 2 parts. The rest of the machine is either built in-house or sourced from France, Italy, Spain, or right here in Portugal. Boilers themselves and some other components inside are actually CNC'd right there in their factory itself. So the way we'll do this video is I'm going to start by looking at the exterior form. We're going to go through the different options and things that they offer you right here on the outside, pull some shots, look at the steaming, and then finally we're going to look on the inside and maybe do a little field trip. This is not a small machine. It is quite large. And just for the sake of comparison, here is the Gaja dual boiler, the GT. It's about the same depth, but the width is quite a bit wider. So this is definitely a presence on your counter. Now, before continuing on, I'm going to do the thing that I do every so often, which is someone that's like, yo, I like this guy, even though I don't really know him. He's kind of cool. I would love it if you would hit the like and subscribe. It genuinely helps. And every time I do bring it up, it does actually have a correlation for people hitting subscribe that may be lurkers or watch the channel every now and then. But it really does help. Only like 50 or 60% of you are subscribed that watch my videos. So it would be cool if we could boost those rookie numbers up. But anyway, thank you so much. Let's continue on with the video. I appreciate you all. We also see that there's a big old glass screen right here, which has touch buttons, so a touch screen kind of thing. Now, it's very responsive. You just have 4 buttons here, 3 here, control the temperature of the brew boiler. The menu goes right there, and then you have, instead of a single shot, double shot, they have A and B, continuous flow, and hot water spigot. Then, of course, right here we have the manometer, which is split between steam boiler on the top and brew boiler on the bottom. On the inside, you'll see where they actually tapped it in order to get that reading. A lot of times you have the pressure reading before the boiler. This is a bit more accurate as far as back pressure goes, kind of like the update in the Gaja GT. They are taking the pressure from the boiler itself, so it reads you more of a back pressure. Then, of course, we have a big old honk and steam one right here, which we'll obviously take a look at later, with its steam actuator here. Then symmetrical to this, boop, we have another little knob. But what is this knob? It can't be for the hot water spigot because that's right there. So what the heck is this? This is flow control. Taking a page out of like the Slayer modified Breville dual boiler, they put a valve right here in order to open and close the aperture so you can control the flow rate going into the boiler. So after you have the water going to the pump, going up through the OPV, shunting some off, and the main water traveling, that water travels through the valve here before it enters the boiler. So essentially when you unscrew the knob right here, you are opening and closing the valve. Now, this is not nearly as accurate as something like a needle valve. And when I was speaking with them, they said they were contemplating switching it out for the needle valve because a needle valve is a lot more accurate than something like a ball valve. Big movements are fine, but there's just not that granularity you get with a needle. So when we look at this, I mean, it is heavily angular. It is very modern with that nice matte black. You have a big box that'll sit on your table. Essentially, it's a big old square space, which is the sponsor of today's video. Squarespace is an incredible domain. It's an asset that I use in order to build a website. If you're someone that has something to share with the world, you're an entrepreneur, or you want to showcase to the world and sell things that you're creating, well, Squarespace might be the right decision for you. I personally have used Squarespace since I started my YouTube journey. I have my own website, which I've been currently rebranding, but guess what? It's very easy. Click, 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 bada bing, bada boom. What you want is there, and it is beautiful. They have multiple different types of interfaces that you can use in order to showcase what you've been working on. You can also build a store there. You can share blogs, you can share thoughts, and you can interact with your community right from that domain. I have a little something just for you. I've got a 10% discount on your first domain purchase, and you can get that by going to https://squarespace.com/Lance Hedrick. Get in there, use code Lance Hedrick in all caps. It's right down there in the caption below. Using that helps the channel, helps you, helps everyone. Thank you, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video. Let's move on with our Square machine. I guess the last thing we should really look at on the exterior is this drip tray size, which is gargantuan as well. I actually quite like when there's a massive drip tray. So when you pull this off, I mean, this thing's big boy. But it's a little shallow, so it can be a little shaky. It might be nice if they had dividers in here, so when you're carrying it really full to the dump station, your sink, whatever it is, or you drink it, it would be nice if they had like dividers in here to stop the kind of wish-washy going on. Obviously, the drip tray clearance is quite massive, even when we have the dual spout in here. I mean, look at that. Let's get our famous Dragon Ball Z mug, and look at this. You want a big mug in there, you got a big mug in there, and you're good to go. Now the exterior, that's sheets of metal, well built. Interior has a very big, thick stainless steel frame that they're starting now to make in-house. My machine does not have one made in-house. It was sourced, but one of their big goals is to make essentially everything here stainless steel. That's one of the reasons they had to source their portafilters, because they had a difficult time finding stainless steel portafilters in Europe. Mostly they were able to find chrome-plated brass, which is the typical portafilter. So they did end up sourcing this as well as that steam one. But everything else, they were really focusing on stainless steel. In fact, there's only one piece of brass that water really comes in contact with that I have seen in the whole machine, and it is in the group head itself. It's just a tiny little piece of brass that kind of holds things together. But other than that, everything they have, whether it's the boiler, the brew boiler, the steam boiler, the steam wand valve, the OPV, stainless steel. So that is a really cool kind of approach. Back here where the water tank is, you can take this lid off, and there is the screw for the OPV. So it comes straight up from the pump down in the back. But that's very easy access. You just take off the water lid and you can play around with that all day. So let's pull some Spro. All right, we've got our coffee locked and loaded. Let's go and pull this shot with a little bit of flow control. I'm gonna start with full flow open, so the valve completely open until I see a little bit of saturation on the bottom, and there it is. I'm cutting the valve off to let it bloom for a few seconds, maybe till 15 seconds. And then I'm gonna open it back up. And there we go. We're gonna open it back up to full flow. So we're up to about 8 bar, and I'm gonna slowly bring it down. I have this dialed in so that it goes pretty quickly. I don't want it to have that high of pressure, to be honest with you. We're gonna bring it downtown, bring it all the way downtown until right about there, and we cut the valve off and turn the shot off. So about a 1 to 2.5, 1 to 2 actually ratio with that nice bloom should give us a really nice tasting coffee. I'm gonna take a little spoon, get a little stir. A little turbulence in that stir to really make sure all that's mixed together. Maybe a little swirl to aerate it a bit, but then lovely. It can do, you know, just as good of a job as anything else that has a vibratory pump in it. Of course, you have the capability of flow control, which will improve the capability of making your espresso better, more tailored. You're able to save shots, kind of like a direct lever style machine, because you're essentially having the same type of control over it as a direct lever. This gives you out-of-the-box capabilities that other machines, for the most part, don't give you, unless you get like a Lelite Bianca that has out-of-the-box needle valve control, or if you take something like a Kaffmaschine or a decent espresso machine. Most things don't come out of the box with some type of flow control. Of course, you can shell out extra money if you want that out-of-the-box experience, like a Sanremo U or the like, but there are easy modifications to give you flow control, whether it's a dimmer modification or doing the rerouting of the tubes essentially in a Breville dual boiler, Sage dual boiler, to get a similar type of control over your flow rate. You're just routing the water from the pump through the hot water spigot into the brew boiler itself, utilizing the needle valve that's already in the Sage dual boiler machine or Breville dual boiler. Now, when we look at the menu, there are a few options that you can play with. You click menu here, you have a shot counter, you go up. This is pre-infusion, so you can set the pre-infusion time for either the first shot or second shot. So, of course, if you're using this built-in pre-infusion and your volumetrics that you have set here, you have to understand that the flow rate can only be what this ball valve is giving it. So if you have the ball valve barely open, you forget to reset it, well, your pre-infusion and your flow rate is going to be as low or as high as you have this knob set. You keep going up. This is eco mode. I have it off. This is a priority boiler mode. So that just means if one of the heating elements is on, it won't turn the other one on to save some energy. You have the cleaning cycle, and then you have the descale cycle, which is shown with a diamond. And then it goes back to just the temperature, which you can change at any time using the up and down arrows. So instead of adding rails or something that could detract from the aesthetic, they actually just put a little decline into their top panel here so that cups will sit there and not slide off. And this gets pretty hot because it's above the boiler. It's already getting quite a lot hotter due to the steam boiler going on, but it will warm your cups up all nicely. For the steam boiler, you don't have to have that on when you turn the machine on. In fact, mine is not currently on. I have the steam boiler off. There's an on-off button back here for the full machine, and right beside it is the steam boiler, which will turn on real quick. The brew boiler is 700 mils, and the steam boiler is 1 whopping meter big. It's a big boy. It's not, I guess it's not that big. There's much bigger on the market, but that's pretty big. And when it's fully pressurized, which you can tell by the pressure gauge here, it's ready to go. So what I'll do is I'll show you the steam pressure and I'll show you in some water, but I am such of the belief that any machine can give you silky milky that showing you is just kind of wasting milk since I don't really drink milk beverages anyway. So let's go ahead and show you that. You go back with the spring and it purges. So get out some of that extra wet steam. And now this is what it looks like. And it's on a ball valve. So if you don't feel comfortable with a ton of steam, you can turn it down. See that? And then go more, and back. Power. And as you hear, it's not losing pressure. So it's at a liter. If it lost pressure, that would be silly. Like, look at that. You're good to go. Easy. Then when you're done, pull that off, and you can just clear it out by going backwards. It is not dual walled though, so do not touch the metal. That's why they have such a big rubber grip on here. It's not insulated, so don't mess around with that. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a Lance video if we didn't open this bad boy up and look inside to judge the internals. This machine's really hot. I don't feel like waiting for it to cool down, so instead, let's go on a field trip. We're going to go to their manufacturing facility, and I'm going to show you their CNC machine, how they make the brass fittings, the stainless steel parts, and we're going to take a look at their quality control. We're going to take a look at some of their assembly lines where they're putting together these wires and different things like that. And we're going to take a look at the internals while we're there with a cooled down machine so I don't burn my cutesy little fingers. So actually the machine I'm going to look at is hot as well. It just already has the panels off. Here is the inside of the Coast. So we have the big brew boiler, 0.7 liter right here, stainless steel. Back here we have the steam boiler. Both of them are insulated, as you can see, with that nice foam padding around it. Here we have the water reservoir, and it is taking water from the bottom part, so we don't have the tube system. We've got the bottom inlet system. It comes down to 2 different vibratory pumps, one for the steam boiler, which is on the back, one for the brew boiler right here. As you'll notice, the tubing comes up to the OPV, which is right here. Now this OPV is made in-house. It's a stainless steel OPV with access right here on the top so that you can change the OPV with a simple flathead screwdriver. So the other tube that has been regulated with the OPV comes over here to the flow control system. So this is where a ball valve is located right here, and you have control of it with a knob on the outside, the exterior of the machine. And the accepted flow rate goes through this tube right here and into the boiler itself. Once you have a filled boiler, that's going to control the flow rate that goes into the puck itself. The water that goes into this vibratory pump goes up to the steam boiler through this braided cable right here, and we're inside the steam boiler itself. You have the outlets up at the top, and they are plastic tubes. So the steam comes through this plastic tube here into the stainless steel fitting for the steam wand valve. You also see there are thermostats here, and then you have the pressure sensor, which comes here through this piece of copper to the manometer itself, which you'll see is a shared manometer. So this one down here comes over into the side of the brew boiler itself with another copper wire. We have the temperature probe here, just like we do on the steam boiler right here. On the steam boiler, these go to the heating element, and on the brew boiler, the heating element is connected right here and here. And then of course the thermostats are located there. This is the 3-way solenoids. This is how we get our dry puck. There are other solenoids throughout the system like a typical dual boiler machine, but this is the one that's given us that dry puck and that we need to ensure is clean, which is why we back flush. You don't back flush a solenoid-less machine. This is the 3-way solenoid that we are trying to keep clean so that the little aperture inside does not get clogged with anything. So it is important to note there is quite a bit of plastic tubing in here for hot water supply. So some of this is just overpressure, doesn't really matter, but when it comes to the steam wand, that is a hot water line, that is a silicone texture. You also have the hot water spigot is connected with the silicone as well, which is embedded down here. Then up here, of course, we have a plastic shield for the menu, the touch screen up front to keep it separated from the heat and from any type of water. It is a well-built machine. There are some parts of it that I wish were different, and that includes, of course, they even admit that their OPV, they're currently doing some work on it to make it a little bit more sharp. I would also love to have a different pump in here as opposed to a vibratory pump for the brew boiler. Apparently, there may be something coming on into the future, maybe next year with another model, but that will, of course, increase the price. The size, I think, could go down a little bit. I don't know if it's justified being this big, but I wish the wiring was a bit more organized. I actually like how organized it is in something like the Ranchilio, but that's a small thing, to be honest with you. Of course, I'm very much looking forward to there being a needle valve control instead of ball valve because it will make it a lot more granular. I'm actually not that mad about the touch interface here. I think it actually does quite a nice job. It's very easy, and there's never a time where you're trying to hit it where it's not gonna actually actuate. There have been machines where I'll sit there and hit, and it won't actually come out. I think it could be a solid option for a lot of you who are not tinkerers or modders, because nothing else really in this price range that's not an E61 comes stock with this type of flow controlling. In fact, I'm not sure of any other machine that has something like this other than maybe the Meraki, where you have some sort of control there. But nothing that is as robust with as much metal that is going throughout the whole construction. Really, the only critique is the plastic tubes going from the steam boiler to the hot water spigot and the hot steam wand itself. So if you're someone that will never use a steam boiler anyway, this is great. Outside of that, I am really excited that they're making their own stainless steel parts in-house, that most everything is sourced from different places in Italy, largely from Portugal. I think that's really cool. And since they're making it all in-house, it's available through resellers, the different spare parts, so that you can service it yourself. It's built well in those regards, so I think it should last quite a long time because it's put together pretty well. Anyway, that's it for me today. I hope that this review was helpful. I hope that you can kind of see the pros and cons of something like this, and that overall I think it's a very positive contribution. I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and well, most important thing, hope that you brew something tasty today. And cheers.